we're live. All kinds of excitement going on. Today we're going to talk about 317 LS heads and why does Richard hate those so much, or actually, does he hate those so much? And this applies to other things too that I've tested, and for some reason, people think that when I test these things and then tell them what they do and demonstrate that, like, graphically with actual dyno testing, that for some reason you have a personal vendetta against this. So when I tested the Boss 302 stuff against the DZ 302, oh, you're just a Ford guy, or you're just a Chevy guy, or whatever, all those things. But the example that I'm going to use are the 317 heads, because the 317 heads are actually, I would use them on a lot of applications. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But also, we're going to do a giveaway today in honor of, I've got some shirts, wrong cam shirts. You got blue, got red. So we've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. I'm going to give away a shirt today on the live feed. So for the live feed people, you guys are going to be the benefit of, rather than, I was thinking about this, what I wanted to do. So if people don't know, recently the channel reached 300,000 subscriptions. Thank you guys or subscribers. Thank you guys very much for all of your support. It's very much appreciated. And particularly the guys that come to the live feeds, we have a lot of interaction and stuff. And so that's good. So I like those guys. So we'll start off, and rather than just do like one giveaway, hey, I'm going to give away a cam or whatever, I'm going to try to do a number of them so that it gets more than just one person. Because what I found about giving away free things is, one, it's not very successful at helping boost viewership and that kind of stuff. That doesn't really work very well. And also, the only thing that it ends up doing is it ends up making one person, a little bit happy, but everybody else unhappy because they didn't win anything. It's fun to play, and I like all that stuff. And so we're going to do something, and I'll tell you how we're going to choose the winner in just a little bit. The other thing is I have, in addition to those t-shirts I have available, I've got cams available. And if you're thinking about getting a cam and you want a cam for like streak or nitrous or blower or turbo or things, I have 2 cams available. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is I'm going to continue to mention because I have cams available, so we're going to sell those. But also, there may be a price change coming up in the cams. So if you're going to get them, I would get them now because there may or may not be somebody big involved in this. So that's all I can say for right now. So if you're thinking about getting one, you should get it right away. Both of these cams work very well. I sell way more of the low buck truck cams, which is like the 212, 220 something cam. And the reason that I sell more of those is I recommend that more often, only because when you compare the 2 cams, the one step up from the low buck truck camshaft certainly does better. It makes more power. I mean, it could make 15, 18 more horsepower, but it does it from like 5,000 on up. So most people are, what I found is most people are much more interested in power below that RPM than they are interested in the power above that RPM. And this is particularly true of guys, I call it a low buck truck camshaft, but lots of people, in fact, I would venture to guess that most people are not using it in trucks. They're using it in other applications because there's really, just like there's no such thing as a turbo cam, there's really no such thing as a truck cam too. All it is a cam that enhances power in a given RPM range. And it does that whether you put that engine in a Camaro or a Chevelle or whatever, BMW Isetta, if you were swapping an LS into an Isetta, but also obviously works with trucks. And the other benefit that we talked about is if you do that, if you have that sort of power gain in that RPM range, it also works very well with a turbo. And yes, you can use nitrous and you can use blowers and all that stuff. So if you're interested in that, or interested in the t-shirts that we don't give away today, send me an email. I put my email address down, so you can put that down and send me an email, and I'll tell you how to order that stuff. So I have a bunch of them in stock. They're ready to ship out. We have like streamlined the shipping process. Almost all of the orders get shipped out the day that they get the order. So as long as we haven't missed UPS, which is what most of them get shipped by, I bought a fancy label maker, all this stuff. So all we have to do is input everything and slap it on there. My son has been helping me, and we have a whole bunch of them all boxed up and ready to go. So it's just putting labels on them and shipping them out. So it works really well. So I've got that part of it taken care of, which is nice. Took a little bit of time, but all of that's working out good. Same thing with the shirts. You can buy a cam and a shirt together, and then they will come together. You can buy shirts separately. Those are all packaged up, ready to go. We just slap a label on it, and away it goes. So all of that stuff is streamlined. So now the Super Richie customer service is much, much better. But we're going to give away one of these shirts today for one of the lucky guys here. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what I wanted to talk about today, and that's the 317 heads on the LS. And for a long time, I think people, because of the testing that I did, like when we compared the 317 head to the 706 head to the 799 head, and then we also included the 241 head when I tested them on the 5.3. Then I did that same test when we tested them on a 6-liter. And then I've tested the 317 again versus other heads, the LS3 heads and 799 heads on the LY6, and then also against 706 heads and 862 heads on turbo applications, comparing them. And the reason that I did that particular test is because a lot of guys, and this was early on, and this is why I jumped in so heavily to this, is back in the early days of the LS stuff, guys were putting these 317 heads, because these have way more flow than a 706 head that comes on a 5.3. And they lower the compression. And so, you can just run a lot more boost. There's an argument technically that's accurate on both sides. I would actually agree with that, although I just think it's a terrible idea to have to buy another set of heads, and you already have from the wrecking yard a set of heads on your LS that already work well. So a 706 head on a 4.8 or a 5.3 is a good combination. Just put a turbo on it and away you go. And there's no limitation. The extra flow that you get from heads, whether it's a 317 or a 799 head, is not going to help you if you have a turbo combination, because you could already make all the power that the turbo can make. So you're not going to get more out of it. You're just going to happen at a little bit lower boost level if the airflow is helping you at all. It's going to hurt response, particularly on the 317 head, because when we lower the compression, which a 317 head versus a 706 head would do, when you lower the compression, you lower boost response. It's going to make less power at every given. If we were to test this at the same boost level, which I did on the video, and you compare it, a 317 head makes less power than a 706 head. What I didn't cover on there, I may have talked about it in listening to myself. I may have covered this, but and this is one reason that I want people to know that I'm not anti 317 head. I'm against you taking 317 heads and putting them on a 4.8 for almost any reason. That's not an advantage. The 4.8 already has low enough compression for you to successfully turbocharge it, unless you're trying to do something where you want to run it on 87 octane. That's just not a good choice, because it's gonna a 4.8 already doesn't have very much low speed torque. When you put 317 heads on, it gets really, really soft. And then if you add insult to injury and put an LS9 camshaft in it, then you have an engine that just doesn't work. It has a 2-stroke power band at the very top of the RPM range. But what I will say is that if you put those heads, a 317 head on that, and I'm essentially talking about lowering the static compression, because that's the biggest thing that's happening here. The added gain that you get from the airflow is next to nothing, especially on a 4.8 and a 5.3. It just doesn't benefit from that. But what you have done is lower the compression. So on some turbo applications on the street, again, when you're running and you want to run pump gas, I think that could be beneficial. I think you've widened the tuning window a lot, so guys can miss by a lot, and that's important because guys do miss by a lot on the timing and air fuel and getting the tune right and getting the roll in and detonation and curing all that stuff. So that this gives you a bigger window. So you can run, and I honestly think that you adding another pound of boost, because you have 317 heads and you've lost the low speed power and you've lost the amount of power that you make per pound of boost, adding another pound of boost because you have the lower compression is certainly a viable alternative. And I think that works very well. If I had a 6-liter and it already had 317 heads on it, I'd just run those. I wouldn't put another head on it. I would just use the ones that I have. And that's the biggest thing is on all of these things when guys are talking about putting a different set of heads on. And if you're going to try to make 1500 horsepower, I'd put a different head on. I'd put a head on that flows more, but also put a head on that has a thicker deck so that you don't have to worry about, blowing head gaskets or hurting the deck surface of the head. So I would do that. But on most of these things that are like 1000 horsepower or less, I would just run the heads that you have, because nothing there is going to stop you from making the power that you want to make, any sort of reasonable power level. And there's no reason to spend the money. You just put springs in it, put some sort of camshaft, shout out for the low buck truck camshaft, something like that. Put that in there, or run the stock cam, or any of the other, like the Truck Norris cam is a great cam. All of the Brian Tooley stuff, the Chopacabra. There's lots of good camshafts out there. So you can put any of those camshafts. I always recommend putting a milder camshaft in that a lot of guys want. Invariably, when I get all these comments and the videos and I get emails and stuff, people tell me, oh yeah, I asked these people about what I should put on my 5.3 turbo motor, and they're saying, yeah, you need to put this 227 camshaft in there. I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. It's not a terrible idea, because it will work. It'll just be really softer, a lot softer than down low than any of these other cams. And then it's not going to benefit you other than if you want to make a specific amount of power at a specific boost level, you're going to do that. It's going to be better because it's going to make more NA power, and then it's going to make more power under boost. But it's only going to do that at the top, and the spool up is going to be soft. And then you could always just turn the boost up with the smaller cam, have more response, have the same power. All of that stuff works. So when we're making these decisions, a lot of times the decision isn't like, what is ultimately the best thing? Like 317 heads are not ultimately the best thing, but they will work. And on a 6-liter, I'd use them. Low compression, you can add boost. All of that works. On a 4.8 or 5.3, I would keep the heads that it has on there. On an LS1, if you got 241 heads on there, I would just put those on. I would keep those. Everybody wants to, I got to put 799 heads or 243 heads on there. No, you actually don't. You especially with a turbo combination, you could just use what you have. And then also, you can take any of those stock heads, 317 or whatever, and make them better than any of the other factory heads with just like a few hours worth of work. If you mill a 317 head and do some porting, they'll be better than any 799 head will be. You obviously then could do that to the 799 head too, but it takes very, very little work for you to do that, for you to make them better. And then you could just say, oh, like I made mine better. Because for a lot of these things, that's what they want to be. They want to be able to say that, I made the right choice, that this is the right combination. So the recap, keep the heads that you have, add boost to it, springs, cam, you're on your way, do that stuff correctly. You'll have success. The 317 heads, if that's what you have on your 6-liter, just use them. Remember, the highest horsepower that I've ever made on any of these big bang motors was with 317 heads. It was with, they were ported by the guys at Total Engine Airflow, and they were really good. I mean, but they were still 317 heads, and we made over 1500 horsepower with those. So those heads are good to begin with. On a street application, can be made to do even more. Quite honestly, doing it over again, I would not pick those heads for the big bang motor, only because we're now at a level where I would be concerned about, the deck thickness. And I would pick an aftermarket head just for that reason. But apparently the CA625 ARP head studs and the MLS head gaskets were like doing what they were supposed to do, and allowed us to make that kind of power on that combination. So here's what I want to do. Let's see. Here's our poll. Should I do multiple giveaways for the 300,000 subscription giveaway? Put a question mark there. So do you want me to do multiple giveaways as opposed to just one giveaway? Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. And we'll do this we'll do the giveaway in a half an hour. So right now we're about 14 minutes in. So let's say at the 45-minute mark, we'll do a giveaway. So I'm writing a number down right now. So I just wrote it down on this piece of paper. It's on the other side, so you can't see it. So I wrote a number down, a number between 1 and 100. We don't have quite 100 people here, but I want you guys, everybody guess, pick a number between 1 and 100, and whoever picks the right number or closest to the right number by that time, but when we hit the 45-minute mark, you guys will win one of the shirts. I figure that's the easiest and arbitrary, fair way to do it. So let's see some numbers, and I'll start. We'll get down to the numbers, but we'll start going through the comments here. Prestige, what's going on, man? Drag van, Frego. How are you only at 300,000? I know, right? It should be like 1 million. The other thing that I'm coming up on is one of the videos is inching closer to 1 million views. So I'm excited about that too. And it's one that I wouldn't have picked to do that. Although I have another one that's sneaking up on that one. The AMR Supercharger one is going fast too. It's gathering steam. 300K. Thank you guys for your support. Frank, what's going on? Bernard, Dylan, Joe. Heinzelman, is that, did I pronounce that correct? That's cool. I need the best cam for the 8.1 engine use. Yeah, that would be good. I would actually like to do cams for those. I think that there's some room there for guys to have cams available for that. And we might be seeing some of that from some friends of mine. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. The real origin of TNT shirt is turbo shirt. Every shirt is a turbo shirt. Is that what it is? Every t-shirt is a turbo shirt. People look up one or two things, and 95% of people don't subscribe. I need one from a 6-liter. Send me an email, man. Replacing front pads and rotors on 2012 Colorado. Oh, it's not good, Eric? What's wrong with those brakes? Are they hard to access or something? I'm here for the Jerk Flow Box 351 intake manifold. Large thin crust pizza would be more doable, I think. Changing the spark plugs on my 99 V6 Firebird. You're questioning whether it was a good idea. Well, just do the easy ones, and then you can figure, I did most of them. Intake manifold, gasket, and valve covers. Okay. Even if I don't win, I'm glad to have you as a friend. Yeah, my wife she's doing good. I'll swap. I said it. I know. How awesome would that be? The guys from Cunningham BMW, I met them out at the Silver State long ago, and they brought a bunch of M series cars out. They brought an original M6 and an M5, and then they also brought an Isetta that was decked out in the M livery, and it was so awesome. I don't know. I don't think they did anything to the motor, but it looked amazing, and it was, of all the Isettas that I've ever seen, that's the one that I wanted the most. We can get a comparison between a Truck Norris and a Summit 8733 Big Nasty Cam. I think I probably have that already. The Big Nasty Cam is dramatically different than the Truck Norris cam. But I have run both of those. I need to see and look and see what combinations I ran both of them on. Dylan, you need a website. I agree. I'd need a store and a website. Do you have any turbo parts? I have some turbos for sale. Canada in the house. Only the way to make a BMW worth is to put an LS in it. I still want one of the earlier M5s with a LS in it. Even just like a 450 or 500 horsepower like stockish one would be awesome. Not on topic. There's no topic anymore for this discussion, obviously. Just whatever questions you have are good. Not on topic. I'd like to see you get your hands on the new TIC Performance Teddy Boostevelt. That's a good name. I like that. I like the guys at TIC. I have one of their intercoolers, and those guys are good guys. If you tell me what the specs are, I can tell you what the cam does. Having run nearly every combination of things that will fit from stock to the biggest thing that will fit, I would have a pretty good idea what it's going to do. Send me an email, Richard. I'll start as your shipping manager tonight. Yeah, I don't need that. We're already good. I have I'm using I have a shipping account and stuff, and we have that taken care of. Can you change out the cams on an 08 Ford 46 without reprogramming the computer? I don't think so. If you have a camshaft change that's going to change the power output significantly, you're going to need to retune it. Most people with daily or heavy vehicles should be making sure they don't sacrifice 3,000 to 5,000 too much. This coming from a guy with a 235, 248 cam. Yeah. Yeah, but you got 430s in it. So you're getting, and it probably has you probably have a converter on that too, right? Little by little, walk away from the project when you get mad or injured. Are BTR cams good? Yeah, they're excellent. I can say nothing but good things about Brian Tooley as an individual who I've known for decades now, and also about their products. They're good stuff. After months of badgering you and putting my money where my mouth is, I'm finally watching your stream while wearing the wrong cam shirt. Thumbs up to Sean for supporting and for wearing the merch. And you got to be wearing it while you're watching the channel, right? Lisa and I have not done a happy hour and horsepower. We need to do that. The only problem is I've got to get her done because I have 3 drivers now and need the car. My objective today is to get it ready to reassemble. Cool. Do you have 3X stuff? I do. I have 3X in both red and blue, Dan. How does the chamber overlap affect a 317 on a small bore? Well, we've run 317 heads on the 5.3, but the chamber on the 5.3, the dimension, like if you measure the widest part of the 317 head, I'm pretty sure it's the same as a 799 head, which they run the 799 and the 243 head on 4.8s and 5.3s and the Gen 4 stuff all the time. So they're not worried about the overhang on it. I have a 6-liter with 243s, comp cam. I want to shoot a 75 shot on a stock bottom end. Will it hold? Yes, it'll, as long as the tune's right and you pull the timing out of it, that will last forever. We run much more than that on that kind of combination. Got a new phone, got notifications. Excellent, Danny. I worked as a maintenance mechanic, went to school for auto body repair, worked in a shop, but never did my own mechanic work. Watch a few of your videos. Your clarity when explaining. I'm glad, Rob. Good. I wish that I knew more about, I've done a little bit of body work, Bondo and sanding and that kind of stuff. But I envy guys like Dulcich and those guys that have done a lot of it and actually done painting and stuff. That's pretty cool. You want to know what my thoughts are about the C801? All my car enthusiast friends watch your podcast. Great. I appreciate it. So we saw the Build It Yourself got their V10 ready. When will they be on? I don't know. I haven't scheduled anything. They sent me flanges, which we need to make. We're making headers, but I need to get the flange. I haven't even gotten the flanges. I've kind of been lagging on that stuff. I need to get the flanges over to Jason at JT Fab. Factory turbo engine or a factory supercharged engine, which is better? The fact that one is turbocharged or one is supercharged doesn't dictate what it's better. And I don't know what you mean by better. Does better mean more powerful, more responsive? I don't know what your definition would be. Put a set of ported 799s on a 6-liter bottom end with a Summit 224 cam. It should be good. Yeah, that should work good. If you look at the big cathedral port head test I did, properly ported a 799 or 243 head, like the ones that we tested, came from Brian at Total Engine Airflow when he was there. And those heads are legit. I mean, they can flow what aftermarket heads flow. They could at the time. So I would say properly ported those heads in terms of flow, because they put bigger valves and stuff, and they did CNC chambers and stuff, and they did them upright. those heads were the equivalent, or nearly the equivalent of like a Trick Flow 225 or 235 head, but they don't have the deck thickness for like, super high horsepower turbo applications. Let's see. Oh, we got lots of numbers. Got a set of 706 heads on Marketplace for $100. Prefer for a trial run, do a mild port and polish. Yeah, you can find them at the wrecking yard a lot. An 862 head and a 706 head is the same performance-wise. Camshaft I bought said peak torque should be between 3,200 and 3,500. Peak horsepower between 58 and 62. Do you think my 3,000 stall converter will be okay? Yes, I do. And is the camshaft really small to have peak torque at between 32 and 3,500 RPM? I'm looking at all the guesses right now. Watched a few of them, but after watching your how-to video on the cam install, that's a very popular one. 862 heads for boost. Those are fine. An 862 head is like a 706 head. If you have whatever stock head you have on a 5.3, it works very well for power. Is it usually okay to do 041 head gaskets instead of 051s for an LQ4? Most likely we use a Truck Norris cam. Yeah, you're just going to raise the compression a little bit. That's fine. Friends of yours doesn't help us. I guess who is doing them because they're friends with like 90% of the car community who voted no. I know. Where does a power band of an LS2 start? Well, it starts making power like right off idle if you go to wide open throttle there. But if you're asking about that particular camshaft, you can look at that camshaft that I've tested on a 5.3, but I also have stock LS2 videos up where we ran a stock one. Oh, but Rob, you want to own an M1? Yeah, I haven't. I've never even. I don't know that I've seen one of those in person. Maybe at a car show or something. Got to pull the hubs off to pull the rotors. Yeah, that's not good. How closely matched do decaps need to be? They need to be matched. They need to be really close. And if you just do 8 of them, they're not going to be close. You need to do a bunch of them, and you need to have them flowed because they can vary by a lot, like 15 or 20% a lot. So for Tahoe with an LQ9 using 706 heads, would LS3 heads be better? An LS3 head will make more peak power than a 706 head. The compression will be lower, so it'll be softer down low, but it will make like 30 more horsepower than a 706 head will. You talk about why a 224, well, the small Ford would be a 224, 232 cam works well. It does work well, but it works well not down low like a Truck Norris cam is. And a Truck Norris cam or this low buck truck cam have significantly different ramp rates and also different valve events. And also the small block Ford doesn't have what the LS has. It doesn't have really good cylinder heads, at least the stock one doesn't, and a really good intake manifold. Truck Norris cam, my 5.3 with 862 heads. Those are good. 1988 BMW 535i, best looking BMW. That's the year that I like, I think. Saw a video of a car built like Dom's Charger at West Tech. Yeah, there has been one there. It's from one of the guys. The one that I saw there was from one of the guys that worked on the film. Is $800 a good price for a 2000 Silverado 2500 with an LQ4 and an L80? Yes. just about get started on building a 496. Is there anything you would have done differently than what you did before? On which one? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about a 496-inch big block Chevy, a 496-inch LS with a tall deck block? And you'd have to clarify what combination you're talking about, because I don't build engines to think that this is the ultimate engine. I build them to do other kinds of testing with, to demonstrate what works and what doesn't work. So there's no combination that I've built other than when I built dedicated things for Bonneville, where I had a specific application in mind, or when I did Engine Masters, that would be a different thing. If the turbo install goes well on my son's Tahoe, my other son wants to install an LS with a turbo on his S500 Benz. Oh, nice. And an 05 530. Here's a question. Truck Norris Cam and a 5.3. What would you recommend for torque converter specs for a daily driver? Some occasional towing up to 6,000 pounds. I don't think you need to go any bigger than like 2,500 on that. Maybe a 2,800. Woody's, what's going on, man? Thank you for the kind words. Us older folks think 454 big blocks when someone says LS. Having said that, please explain to me the modern LS. What do you want to know about the LS? They made it, if you're talking about the stroker one, I have done 495-inch LSs. Then you can go bigger than that. You can go more than 500 inches. Looking to buy my stepfather's 03 Toyota Sequoia. Those are cool. Time belt replaced 100,000. Let's see. Printing your own shirts. I'm about to put together a printer setup for a sublimation prints for my company t-shirts. Everybody loves my stickers, but shops wanted too much for printing t-shirts. Rob, I went to one of those cheap, like, $3 or $4 t-shirt things, only because this is my first foray into t-shirts, and I just wanted to get something done rather quickly. And I'm offering the t-shirts are not making any money, so I just wanted to get t-shirts to have deals with the cams and that kind of stuff. But it worked out pretty well. Got my t-shirt, nice. What's the best way to get 450 to 500 horsepower out of a 5.3.5 ton truck? 450 horsepower is not hard. That's a good cam and springs and tune. But the cans are going to be pretty big to make 450 horsepower. To make 500 horsepower with a 5.3 takes everything. You have to have ported heads, a good intake manifold, a big cam. It's not something I would recommend. 500 horsepower with a turbo is very, very easy, and you don't have to do anything else to it. You just use a stock cam. I learned to paint. I just can't stand the sanding. Yeah, it's all in the prep, basically. Can you do a turbo test of all the high dollar turbos on the same motor, the same size turbo? Here's the problem with that. First of all, it's way too expensive to do that. I mean, you have turbos that can be $3,000 or $4,000. And then it's hard to get turbos that are exactly the same size because the wheel trims are going to be dramatically different. The hot side and the cold side is going to be dramatically different. What I can tell you is if we get a 76 millimeter or whatever cheap turbo, and you do a 76 millimeter Garrett or one of these Zonda rotor things, those are going to make a lot more power. And by a lot, I mean a lot more. So they're not all the same. The ones that you pay more for can make more power. But then the question becomes, okay, if you want to make more power, why wouldn't you just get an inexpensive, bigger turbo to support whatever power level you want? Congratulations on the 300K. Thank you very much. Flat tapping camshaft, vacuum booster, power brakes. Okay, yeah, a small one. Okay, that makes sense. Especially detail on a Jeep. Nice. Living in Toledo is rough. Oh, I bet. I mean, I don't know how you detail all the rust. I voted no. I want shirts to get sold and pay for the parts. Should I do multiple giveaways for the 300K? Yeah, it's like a $5 t-shirt. So technically speaking, the shipping costs way more than the shirt does. The shipping and the boxing and all that. Stock 5.3. Would I see a power change on milling the heads? Yeah, a little bit. Can't change internals due to the rules for my circle track. Yeah, you can mill the heads and add compression, and then you could put a thinner head gasket on it as well and make more power. What cam would you recommend? Or a 413 Plymouth is street performance and a 48 Plymouth two-door sedan. Does it have a stock one in it now? I mean, having zero 413 Plymouth experience, I would still say that displacement level, and if it has stock heads on it, you're not going to want to put too much cam on it. And if you want it to be a good driver, I'd look for something that's like a 224, 232, or a 230, 236, depending on how much performance you want. Have you coded valves and ports in a head? I haven't ever done that. I can remember. I haven't ever done valves and a head. I've seen them done, but I've never done any tests back to back with that stuff. Will a Muncie M22 handle the torque of a Force 96? Joe, you got to tell me which one you're talking about. I've built 6 or 8 different 496s and run them all in 8 or 10 different configurations. So it's a lot of different combinations there. But I don't think if you're launching it at the drag strip and stuff, I don't think an M22 is going to handle what a 496 could put out. If you're doing this on slicks and drag racing it, if you're just driving it around, I think it should be fine. You worked hard to get where you are to be giving things away to the public. You need to sell stuff. I am selling stuff. I'm selling these shirts and I'm selling cams, so you can keep buying stuff and don't give away nothing that a person will have to pay taxes on. Yeah, they're not going to have to pay taxes on a t-shirt. Talking about a big block Chevy 496 you put in the truck you haul with. I'm putting one in a 68 El Camino. Let's see here. I don't know if we ever ran the 496 in the truck. We built it for that, but I don't think we put it in there. I think I ran the blower with the 454, both stock, and then modified with the 454, and then we took that motor out and built it into a 496, but I don't think it ever went back in the truck as a 496, if I remember right. The 80s S Class A motorhome engines, 454, 460, 440. Let's see. LQ4 stock bottom end with 862 heads, LS6 cam, and LS6 intake. What kind of power would you expect this combo to make? I don't know, 450, 460, something like that at the flywheel, probably. Second day, I lost power in Sloppy Central. What did you lose power to your computer or something? I don't know what you're talking about, Eric. A lot of mall crawlers that never see off road, but this guy does, but it just won't be bad. TSB Torquer 231, 234 on LQ9, 3800 stall using as a daily driver. What head would you think would work? Well, on a 6-liter, a rec port, if you're looking at only factory heads, the rec port head is and an LS3 intake manifold is going to make the most power. Looking for cheap but trustworthy wastegates. I don't know. I don't really have a recommendation for that. We've used tile stuff a lot. I've used obviously the Turbo Smart stuff a lot. On a mid-performance big block with aluminum heads, would a roller cam matter? I like hydraulic roller stuff in big blocks only because you don't ever have to adjust it rather than having a solid. And I still worry about flat tappet stuff. but people have run flat tappets in them for years, and they work. So that would be my concern on that. Traces got a 72 Chevelle SS350 car. Would you put a 450 with a Holley Sniper or 6-liter LS? Car show driver, not a race car. If you're actually driving it around a lot, the 6-liter would be better. It would get better mileage, and you could give it a lot of performance. If it's a car you're driving only on the weekends, then I would have to lean toward the big block just because it's a big block. You're having an engine mount issue, clearance issue. When I did my exhaust for the turbo engine was mounted higher. I thought you already had the turbo and everything in there. Exhaust is resting on the frame. Yeah, you're going to have to clearance it, hammer it, or whatever. Are you going to do any small block Mopars? Yes, but I have a Magnum that we're running, a 360, and we'll run that with boost. And then I have a slant 6 also. I appreciate the testing you did with a TPI of an LB8 L98 Camaro. Nice. Is it LB9? Is that what you're talking about? You encounter any engine from any manufacturer with a DoD cylinder deactivation that doesn't eventually kill the engine? The updated B58 just got it, and they're already blowing up. I would imagine that that's a hard system for longevity. A lot of these things, I remember having this discussion with my buddy Bernie when we first looked at VTEC way back. We're like, oh yeah, that can't work. There's no way that can keep working. And then yet we ran them for 24-hour endurance races, and they work just fine. But that seems to be problematic. We keep losing power due to the storm. Oh, okay. Well, stay safe. Anyone that's in Kansas City area, seen it pick up pull. 2 Gen 4 LMG, 1 LC9, 3 LQ4s. Okay, well, if they're cheap, grab all of those, and then I'll buy them each for like, $250 or $300. Lots of trees coming down, Eric. Holley stuff doesn't like dropping below 12 volts. It does not, and we'll cut off your charging system if it isn't up to snuff. A waistcoat question. I think Matt Happel had some cheap China ones he recommended. Might be worth a look. I've used Precision and Tile previously with good results. Yeah, I've used both of those. I don't think I've used a Precision one. 5.3s get good mileage. Speaking of rollers for a daily figure, worth upgrading to rollers over OEM rockers for the BTR Chuck Norris cam? No, I wouldn't. I don't ever recommend putting roller rockers on an LS. I would use the stock rockers. My 5.3 drinks worse than a night at the bar. 13 to 15 miles per gallon. My 5.3 gets better than that, and it doesn't even have the amount of timing that it needs because it's got a knock sensor issue. But it'll do 18 or 19 on the freeway. '04 Yukon, 373s, L59, a torque cam, and a tune. Yeah, Daniel, I think you're going to see good gains from that. Richard, off topic, but thought you might know, since you filmed a few issues, is Engine Masters done filming new seasons? They're done filming entirely. There will be no more new seasons of Engine Masters. My old Civic was a D16Z, VTEC and supercharger for years. Yeah, I drove around with a lot of, I had a 93 SI, I think. With a single cam VTEC motor in it. And we had a Jackson Racing supercharger on it for quite a while. Wish my 462 valve would get 19 miles per gallon. My 427 gets great fuel mileage on the highway. 27 to 29 miles per gallon. That seems really high for a 427 with a cam in it. We had the nasty weather last year. Floating in my pool with frozen adult beverage. That's good. That's the best thing to do with the pool. Baby Shark, what's going on? Okay, if you have any more, if you haven't yet, we're doing a shirt giveaway. So if you have not, you need to guess a number between 1 and 100, and who's ever closest or whoever hits the number will win the shirt. So put some more guesses in. We got 1 more minute left. Put those numbers in, win a t-shirt. It's like the carnival, huh? So you got to guess a number between 1 and 100 for this, or you can also get blue if you like. We got red and blue, and these shirts are available for sale. Have you installed any HHO systems on performance builds? What is that? How many guesses do you get? You get 1 guess. So you just got to guess 1 time. Throw those numbers up there. We got 1 more minute. I'll take a red one. If you want, I've already put my email address in the comments. So send me an email. Hydrogen HHO. I don't know what that is. Is it a hydrogen injection or something? The answer is no, obviously, if I don't know what it is. Missed my 78 Z28. I do like those. Silver with red. Owned for 4 years. Custom built 350. 2 sets of rear end gears. Went through 3 turbo 350s. Did it have a shift kit in it? Okay, I'm gonna have to scroll back through here because I've seen already 2 people, 1 or 2. I know at least 1 had the right number. So the right number, you guys are done guessing. The right number is 77. And I saw at least 177, and I think 2 of them. So 6-liter beater. And Daniel Healed, I think. Both said 77. Scrolling back through here. Yeah, so we have 2 that oh, here's another one. Whoever the binary number is. Also had 77. So we got 3 that had 77. So of you 3 people, binary, whatever that is, Daniel and 6-liter beater, you guys have to do another guess. You guys have to do another guess. You 3. So let's say for you 3, 6-liter beater, Daniel, and whoever the 110101001, whatever that is, whoever you 3 are, you guys need to pick a number for you 3 between 1 and 20. And I'm going to write that down. Okay, I got that number down. 6-liter beater, what's your number? Number. Woody's, you don't get to guess. All the rest of you guys, you don't get to guess. We've got 3 people that are guessing. So we got 6-liter beater, Daniel, and the binary dude. So Daniel, you guessed 11. Binary guessed 14. And 6-liter beater. 6-liter, what's your number? Six-liter guessed 8. The winner is number 14. I don't know. There must be something going on there. 14. Okay, so send me your information, and I will send you out a t-shirt. Send me your information and size, and I'll send you out a shirt. I'm gonna send receipts on the fuel economy to your email. I don't need receipts. that doesn't matter to me. I just said it seems like a lot. 27 seems like a lot on a 427 with a camshaft in it, and the cam is the big thing because at low engine speeds, let's say you're cruising at 2,000 RPM or 1,800 RPM, where you're actually trying to get good fuel mileage, where you're cruising down the road at, let's say, somewhere between 55 and 70 miles an hour, you would get best fuel mileage at 55, assuming that you had the right camshaft in it. But cams that have lots of overlap and duration and stuff tend to not be real fuel efficient there under very, very light loads. That's why stock cams work really well for fuel mileage. But if you're telling me that you do that, the only thing I could assume is that you're telling me the correct information. Eric, I will be on tonight. I thought for sure the first comment would get one. Gears are everything in fuel mileage. Gears help with effective engine speed, but there's lots of other things that go into that. Aero load, parasitic loss, the amount of power it takes for that vehicle to actually grow down the road. So things like tire size, tire pressure, the losses in the engine, there's a lot of stuff because you're not talking about very much power to do that. So you're talking about things, alternator drag and AC drag and all that stuff. Should I do multiple giveaways for the 300K giveaway? 87% are saying yes. Dakota Slant 6. Yeah, I have to now emulate Tony because he does cool stuff. I definitely have to do a draw through turbo on that thing because that's just cool. My trick for getting decent fuel mileage with a really big cam is to set the injector timing late on the intake stroke. I already sent it. Okay. Credit Karma. I don't really think I need that. I think I'm good there. Have you ever used intake adapters? Want performance design intake on my 5.3? I don't recommend using intake adapters for like adapting for instance, an LS3 based intake manifold to a cathedral port. The adapters mess everything up because it's not the adapter's terrible basically. So to give you an idea, I have videos up where I directly tested adapters going both ways. We ran an LS2 intake manifold or a cathedral intake manifold on a rec port head using adapters. We also ran a rec port intake, that in this case an LS3 intake manifold on cathedral port heads, because I was thinking like everybody else, oh, the LS3 manifold is the best factory manifold ever. I'm just going to adapt it to a cathedral port and then I'm going to be winning, except that it loses power. It loses a lot of power. And so an LS3 intake with adapters on it makes less power than a cathedral port intake manifold does. So it's not a good combination, and I would not recommend doing that even with a performance design intake manifold. Honda D14 supercharger. Were you able to see the video of my van on Messenger? I think that I did. I'll go back and look. Found it helps to cut down on the fuel smell and bump the fuel mileage up a little bit. Oh, cool. I'll have to try that. I mean, I've never done that sort of adjustment on like either factory fuel injection or aftermarket fuel injection specifically for cruise mileage. I'd like to do some of that. So it kind of makes me wish I knew more about tuning the factory stuff. I build tractor 18-wheel diesel engines. I've never seen more than 1,200 EGTs. Are you talking about 1,200 EGTs under cruise or wide open throttle, or what are you talking about? Because 1,300 EGTs on a supercharged or a turbocharged gasoline motor when you're talking about wide open throttle is not unusual, or under any kind of load that's not a boosted load where you have the additional fuel. Is it because of the adapters? Yeah, the adapters mess everything up. They work okay on a very short runner intake on the blower applications because you're getting more power from the blower anyway. But on a long runner manifold, they don't work well. How would I adapt the performance design intake to my 5.3? You shouldn't try to do that. You should just use a cathedral port one. If they don't, does performance design make a cathedral port version of the intake manifold that you want to put on there? Because they make a lot of cathedral port versions of the manifolds. Also, the best thing I've done is sub to your YouTube channel when I started my build. I'm happy that it helps, man. That's why I'm doing it. Ads are crazy today. Yeah, that's because the ad people heard about the 3,000 or the 300K giveaway. Just change out my rod bearings, 4.8 liter while the motor is in the vehicle. That was fun. So how did you get access? Were you able to drop the oil pan and stuff when you did that? I noticed better fuel mileage, and it seemed to drive better after I installed my nitrous plate under my carburetor on a dual plane intake manifold. Yeah, my guess is if you log this, you would probably be able to see your change in fuel mileage would be because of the same reason that we see a big change in air fuel when we put an open spacer, which a nitrous plate normally is, an open spacer on a dual plane intake manifold under the carburetor when we test these things at wide open throttle. It reduces the signal at low speed, and so it's dramatically leaner at low RPM. We usually have to jet up when we do that. But if you didn't jet up under cruise, you're going to see the same thing. It's probably leaner, so you're using less fuel. The shirts are $20 to order. Wide open throttle, I'm seeing 1,400 EGTs. It's scary, so I back out quite a bit. I don't think that's unusual. I'm gonna go through and look and see if I have any EGTs on any of this stuff. None on that one. I'm trying to remember any. I don't run a lot of 8 EGTs. I'm gonna have to think about that and figure out which ones I've ever done that on. I don't think 1,400 is too hot at wide open throttle. Changing rod bearings with the engine in the car gives me flashbacks to my V10 M6. If you don't look at the EGTs are a lot like cam bearings in that way, right? Drop the pan, take your time, spin the motor, 2 rods at a time. Yeah, that's good. I just didn't know how the access to the pan, dropping that would be the thing with the, with the crossover. Close out our pull at 87%. So we'll try to do some more giveaways. I think that's good. They exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. Would you run a nitrous plate that sandwiches between the intake and the throttle body on a daily for occasional fun? And if so, what's the max level you'd consider on an LS6 intake? I wouldn't run a lot of power as a wet EFI kit blowing into a long runner intake manifold, but a 75 or 100 shot seems to be okay. Sean, the EGTs might surprise you, but the thing on the boosted stuff is the EGTs can get higher not because it's boosted at nearly as much as because you have much lower timing. It seems like every junkyard motor that I've ever taken apart, if you've been doing motors before LS stuff, and you looked at the cam bearings on almost any LS that you've ever seen from a wrecking yard or wherever, like this 5.3 that I have, this L33 that I have, having now had, I don't know, 20 cam changes or something. When you look at the cam bearings on that, if you're from the old school, you would definitely have changed that. You're like, oh, look at that. You could see the copper in those. Those are junk. Those are terrible. And yet, just keeps slapping camshafts in there and running it more and more and more and more. And it still works. And I think that, and I don't know if there's truth that I've been told that they put these cam bearings in and then hone them to fit, but I don't know that that's true. It seems odd to me. And that once they get to that point, that then they last for a long time. Because a lot of these motors are like my truck, where it has, 350,000 miles on it. And I don't know if it just keeps going until it gets gets down to the block. You got 2 more minutes. So remember, go get your cams. We got 2 of them. Get your cams. They're on sale now. Price is going to go up. Get your t-shirts. We're going to be doing more t-shirt giveaways. That will be good. And whoever binary is 1101 or -XYZ or whatever, make sure you send me your information. I've heard they clearance the cam bearings when they install new cam bearings. I think that they put the camshaft in there and spin it around and it self-clearances. Are you going to test a 2010 LY6 carburetor with trick flow 225 heads of the junkyard nitrous cam? So you want that specific thing? I mean, I've run lots of LY6s, or I take that back. I've not run lots of LY6s. I've run a few of those, but I've run one in particular. All of them have had different changes on them, but I've run LY6s with lots of different configurations. And so having a carbureted one with nitrous on it's not a big deal. We've run nitrous on that motor a lot, but I don't know, was strictly with not specifically with 225 heads, although probably so, because those are heads that we have and have run on there a lot. But I don't know what you mean by junkyard nitrous cam. I don't know what that is. Have you ever checked the cam bearing clearance with a stock cam, then with an aftermarket cam? No, I've never measured the cam journals and then the clearance in the stock stuff. You just need to measure. Well, you need to measure all of it, I guess. I don't know. I would think that the cam journals, although that would be interesting now that you mentioned that, it'd be interesting to check just all the factory cams to see if the cam journals are all the same. I would think that they would be. I've never seen an open. I've seen a never open motor that had different size main bearings. Dead battery at the store. Just got here. Have a nice weekend. You're not at the auto parts store, are you? Because I had that luck one time where I was at Napa picking something up when I went to West Tech and the battery was dead. But luckily, I just went in and got a battery. Do you like Subarus? Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with Subarus. Never on the engine dyno though. But I like almost all cars, especially anything factory turbocharged is awesome. I think that the auto parts stores have EMP that makes your battery go bad. Remember, Mopar number 4 replacement bearings are usually tight. What springs do you recommend for the low buck truck cam? You can run a couple of different ones. A lot of the 799 heads will already have springs on them that you can use. So if they have a factory 550 lift spring, which they would have had on that head with some cam combinations. If you have a factory 550 lift spring, you can just use that. Some of those 799 heads probably also came with the smaller 500 lift springs that they would have used on the small camshafts. But if it has a factory 550 lift spring, you can use that. Or BTR has their $79 springs that are cheap and easy to put on. It's a good turbo to make 500 to 600 horsepower with a 5.3 with a low butt cam. I'd have to mess with, and what I have to mess with the heads. No, you don't have to do anything to the heads to make that power. You don't have to do anything with a cam. You can make 500 or 600 horsepower with a stock cam, but the low butt truck camshaft would allow you to do it on a very low boost level to make 600 horsepower. And then for a turbo, I would pick a GT45. Jokes on them for EMP killing my battery. I got the warranty on the thing. Nice. 799 heads on a 2010 Suburban. I would want to measure it just to make sure, because I don't know enough about all of the factory stuff for the factory. Take a look at what your factory camshaft is. Go to on all OAL on all OAC on all cylinders at Summit Racing, and look up the specs on your 210 motor. The VS Racing 7875. Yeah, that's good. It's just a little bit bigger, but it will work. Have you ever run a Dodge Pentastar? Are you talking about like a V6 thing? If that's the case, I have never run one. John, what's going on? We just did a shirt giveaway, man. You got to be here on time. Didn't your teachers ever tell you to be on time? That's what happens when you're tardy. We did shirt giveaway. T-shirt, win a T-shirt. Oh, will you ever run a Dodge Pentastar? Okay. I don't have any of those, and I hadn't planned on it. Whoever won the T-shirt, make sure to send me your information. Let's see if you did that already. Sean sent me his alleged 27, 28 miles per gallon. I got to give people a hard time. That's why we're here on the live feed, because we're all bros, yo. Richard, should I put 317s to replace my 706s? Travis, I don't remember what your combination was now that I've talked about a few of them. Travis, I'm scrolling back. Scrolling. Travis, I don't see. Okay. TSP Torquer Cam, LQ9, 3800 stall. Actually, with that stall speed, I think I would put the 317 heads on there. But what I'd recommend is you could mill those, and then you could do hand porting and stuff, and you would pick up power with those. It's still going to be softer down low than the 706 head is. Or you could, like I talked about, you could do unshrouding the valve on the 706. You could have somebody put the 2-inch valves in them. You could do bowl work on them, and then they would be good. John, I have plenty of shirts left, but we gave away a free one today. Sean, I know that the Corvettes have gotten, at least stock ones, guys have reported really big fuel mileage in those, especially if a guy is actually trying to get fuel mileage. And I know that I have relatives that have these Corvettes, and they're like, yeah, well, we got whatever their number is, 35 miles per gallon. And it gets better mileage when we're going 70 or 80 or 85 or whatever that does at 60. I'm like, look, none of the things that you just said are true. I said, you're not talking to somebody who doesn't know about Corvettes and fuel mileage and how internal combustion engines work. I said, look, you can talk about that to all the other guys that you're talking to that wear Corvette jackets or whatever, and all that's fine, and you can do that. I said, but that's none of those things that you're saying are actually true. Although I don't know about the actual fuel mileage that they got. I've seen guys get over 30 miles per gallon on a lot of these things. and having the display read some number while you're cruising downhill. I mean, I've seen 999 miles per gallon while I on a hard decel going down a hill. So that doesn't work. But when I do fuel mileage testing over a really long distance, 400 miles, like down to West Tech or whatever. Most of the fuel mileage stuff I've done, I do from, which is like a 250 or 260 mile route that I go from home to somewhere between here and West Tech, and it's the same stretch of mileage and everything. And so you can get a fairly good idea on what's going on. I loved doing that all the time. I do it in my truck just to make sure that the truck is still running the same. But on the Civic, I was doing that, and on the trip from Vegas to West Tech and back, on the Sprint Turbo a lot too. No, Sean, I definitely would not complain about that. 2 Bosch batteries from my good guy account at Pep Boys died. Wally has the best battery warranties. Oh, cool. And that's cool. Thanks, JM. I need to go get another battery for my son's Civic, as the battery is acting up, so we need to go get that. It's been a few years. Let's see, 16. It's been 3 or 4 years since we got him that car, and I have no idea how long the battery was in there before that. 862s on LQ4 versus 317s. I have both heads on the shelf. Can I run 87 on the 862s? There's a better idea to run 317s for a daily driver. 85 Camaro, AR5 Trans. Brandon, yeah, you can run with the 862s on the LQ4. You can run 87 on it, but you're going to have to. The tune is have to be right. Because you may get into transitional detonation and stuff, but you can do that. And on an LQ4, certainly better because it has a dish piston in it. And in a Camaro, as opposed to a truck, your Camaro is a lot lighter, and you have gears and you have a manual trans. I don't think it's going to be a problem. After putting in 8 new sleeves in my Mopar block, would you deck the block to raise the compression from 9.3 to 9.7 on a 408 stroker? I think that after you do sleeves, you deck the block anyway. But I don't think you need to deck the block that much that you're talking about to change the compression up to that. Is this a turbo thing anyway? You've done a test with turbo cams, 230, 245, 116 plus 5. Test them NA to see what they do. Yeah, we have. And whatever the thing does NA, it does under boost. They do make power NA. They make what a 230, 245 cam will make with a 116 plus 5. But we've run lots of cams like that. Sean, you want to see with the stock 76 millimeter turbos? I think that the if some of the comments that I saw are accurate, I thought that the hot sides of those are kind of small. Richard, have you fixed the AC in your truck yet? I have not. It's really hot. I need to go. I think I just need to have it charged. Or are the little Civic batteries expensive? Are they? Don't tell me that. I had like $8 or $9 solved. V6 tensioner on the Magnum V8, which chain heavy duty silent is worn out. Truck on the blocks. Water leaks at the housing. Uh-oh. Remember when you're taking him to go look at the Civic? I never took him to go look at the Civic. The Civic was actually a surprise that we got for him for Christmas. Richard, do you know what the compression is? LQ9 with 706 heads. I don't know off the top of my head, but Wallace Racing Compression Calculator is a good source for that. What I do know is they got their official number on 20 pounds on pump gas. Yeah, I mean, guys, I'm sure on any factory supercharger turbocharge combination, if they have enough injector for it, being able to run E85 and then more boost and then more timing and stuff, it's going to be crazy. I've heard about people dropping displacement to raise RPM going through the traps. Why would you have to drop displacement to raise RPM? If you need a 34F, Walmart has a box shipped, saves $35, including shipping. By the way, Subaru batteries for standard 34F will fit with minor work. Okay. I just fixed the AC in my Silverado. It turned out that the clutch had worn and opened the gap in the coil. Could not pull it in. Testing this by turning on max AC and tapping clutch toward the pulley. So are you just pushing on it? Yeah, I haven't even looked at that, Andy. That's a good point. I thought it was just needed to be charged, but I need to look and see if the clutch is engaged, right? Oh, 408 nitrous engine. Did you already mill the heads? Can you put a thinner head gasket on it? And do you have enough room to mill the block that much and have the piston be at right at zero deck? Does the 85 break down the stock fuel lines? I don't know. It depends on what they're made of. You don't want an LS and a small block Ford, next best choice because of the aftermarket parts. Well, if you have a Ford bodied something and you can put a Ford in it, then a 351 is a good choice. And on that note, it is time to go. Congratulations on the winner of the t-shirt. Make sure send me an email so I can send you out the t-shirt. I've actually already been to UPS this morning, sent out some cams and some shirts. And thank you on the congratulations. Aluminum heads, 108, Felpro gaskets, 43s. Okay, so those are already fairly tight. But I will see you guys all tonight. Tonight.